I theodored having you.
Wow.
No.
Wow.
I can't do that.
Somebody wrote that.
Somebody wrote that. And it wasn't me. Welcome to Couch Surfing, the show where fabulous guests look back at their big roles, their little roles, and everything in between. I'm here with Malcolm-Jamal Warner. Malcolm-Jamal Warner.
Hey.
Hi.
Hey, Lola.
You ready to watch some TV?
I'm a little scared, but
Don't be scared. Don't be scared. Let's start surfing.
Okay.
You were late for choir practice?
You see, it went down like this. I got myself on the 714 uptown, just like I always do.
Oh,
Now
wow.
we're heading up.
So this is one of your first roles, and it's on, you know, a little show called Fame, only the biggest show on television at the time.
Yeah.
How did this come to be?
Well, I had my agent, Miriam Baum. She used to come see me do theater, do children's theater, and I think I was like 9 years old, and she wanted to sign me from seeing this play. And my mom had gone back to school and was like, I can't really take him on audition, so thank you, but no thank you. And then a year later, Miriam Mom came down, saw me in another play, and still wanted to sign me. She went to my mom and said, okay, you're out of school. What's your excuse? I want to sign your son.
Wow.
And that's how it happened. She started booking me on auditions.
And you play a student who joins the choir, and you're actually a Grammy winner.
Yeah, I'm a bass player. I'm a bass player and a poet. I have a jazz funk band called, a jazz funk spoken word band called Miles Long. I've got 3 CDs out, and I won the Grammy for the spoken word piece I did with Robert Glasper and Layla Hathaway.
I've heard of those names.
Yeah, yeah,
Up and coming acts.
Yeah.
Okay. Next project.
Is this my shirt? Is this the shirt I paid $30?
Gordon Gartrell. Yes, sir.
Gordon Gartrell. I mean, this is hands down one of the funniest moments in television history. I mean, the shirt alone is a sight gag. Your freak out about it is a sight gag. How did this play at the table read, first of all? Walk me through that.
It was funny. We knew it was a funny episode. And as well as it played at the table read, it was not this at all. Like I watched this and I remember, you know, we were rehearsing, it was one thing, but when the audience came in and we did it in front of the audience, their response is tucked into my socks.
It's tucked into my socks.
Oh, man. Good. Yeah.
Given all that's going on in the headlines, and we don't have to get specific about, you know, what has happened to Mr. Cosby,
Sure.
but what impact do you think that will have on the legacy of the show?
I don't know. And I say that because I did an interview one time and the person asked me about the legacy of the show being tarnished. And my response was, because she asked me did I think the legacy would be tarnished. And my response was, well, it can't help but to be, because whenever we have instances where we talk about stereotypical images of people of color, we've always had the Cosby Show to hold juxtaposed against that. And the next day the headlines came out, Malcolm-Jamal Warner says the legacy of the Cosby Show is tarnished.
Right.
And then a couple weeks after that...
Which is easy clickbait, but not in
Exactly.
any way in keeping with what the sentiment or the heart of what you were saying
Exactly.
was. Right.
And the fact that we spent 25 minutes talking about my career and music and all of that, and that became the headline. But a couple of weeks later, Keisha Pulliam did an interview, and, you know, her feelings were that, you know, the legacy could never be tarnished, because, you know, there's a generation of young people who went to school because of that show, who went to school and became doctors and lawyers because of that show, who went on to create beautiful, loving families because of that show. So her, you know, her thing was that there was so much good that the show did that cannot be undone. So I firmly stand with her on that, you know, to that account. There's so much that show has done. This was a
There you go.
interesting show.
Okay. That sounds a little loaded. Tell me.
Yeah, it was a very it was a hard show for me to do. It was a hard time for me because I had come from you know, a history-making show that showed that people of color could be funny without being stereotypical.
Okay.
And once we went off the air and I, you know, went over to work for UPN, you know, their whole marketing campaign and their whole programming was really the antithesis of what we were doing on Cosby. And I thought that, you know, that the reason they were bringing me over there was because of my experience of doing a non-stereotypical show. And it was frustrating because that's not what they wanted from me. They wanted me to do the work that they were doing. There was so much fighting that I did on that show with writers, producers, studio, because, you know, there was a particular vision they had for the show, which was different from the vision I had from the show.
And did Eddie have your back during those battles?
Well, we had different, that was the other thing, we came from different schools of comedy.
Got you, yes.
So it was, you know, it was like you're putting, I mean, you're putting the school of Bill Cosby and the school of Richard Pryor together as a team. So there were often creative conflicts that we had. So, you know, it wasn't always harmonious between he and I, but wherever we were, you know, eye to eye wise, every single show for 4 years we would get together, we'd put our hands together, put our heads together, and we'd pray.
Look at that, silver linings.
Yeah.
I like
yeah.
that.
It's all about the silver linings.
A vision in hypercolor and hammer bands.
Community still has one of the most rabid fan bases out there. Did you watch the show prior to joining the cast? Okay.
No, I didn't.
I'm so happy we made it through.
It wouldn't have even been a show that I would have watched. It just would have been so under my radar.
Really?
And then when I started watching it, I was like, this show is crazy.
And you ended up being Shirley's husband.
I had a great time on the show. And I was on the show because Yvette wanted me on that show.
Really?
Yeah, like she pressed them to get me to play Andre. And it was great. We've been friends ever since.
She's the best person ever.
Yvette is the bomb.
Yvette Nicole Brown, we love you. Welcome back to Couch Surfing. I'm still here with Malcolm-Jamal Warner. Malcolm, shall we continue?
Please.
All right.
This is fun.
Let's do it.
Oh, yes. And you know you've got a great budget and you can shut down the freeway.
Is that really what happened? Walk me through how you shot this.
We really had to, you know, kind of obviously recreate what was going on in that Bronco because, of course, no one knows what the conversation was.
Right.
So this was a really interesting, this was a fun scene because I said we shut down part of the, I think it might have been the 710 freeway over the course of a weekend, like from, you know, this daylight time to this daylight time.
Are you serious?
And we had free range of that side of the freeway. And every time, it's funny, so every time we would do a take and we had to go back to one, I would just put the Bronco in reverse and just like drive. So I'm like 60 miles an hour driving in reverse. Because I could. I was on the freeway.
Next project.
When I first met Mike Ross, I thought he was like every other criminal I worked with. An entitled fraud who spent his life cutting corners. But I'm here to tell you.
Oh, well, look at that.
Who knew?
Oh, now, she looks familiar.
Yeah, look at that.
So what happens when your co-star, Meghan Markle, who's just normal actress Meghan Markle, starts dating Prince Harry? What is that like?
There was like, you know, security around. And there was just the energy was so amped up now because, you know, everybody was, you know, talking about her and her new boo.
Her new boo. I think that's the first time he's been referred to as her boo.
The royal boo.
Nervous nurse, when you crank, you are this baby's heart. You hear me?
So you play Dr. A.J. Austin, a heart surgeon, and he says whatever is on his mind, he has 0 F's to give.
Yes.
That must be liberating, because you usually play the nice
kidding?
guy, and now you get to play a guy with a lot of edge.
Yeah, I love it. I keep saying I get to play the guy that I don't allow myself to be. in real life.
But that must mean that that guy is in there somewhere.
He's very much there. Yeah, he's very much there.
I love that because there's no need for that false humility that you see characters have to have sometimes, particularly black male characters.
Yeah.
The idea that he can be that confident and own his own skill and ability, it's so refreshing.
It is.
So what can we expect from this season? Tell me everything.
You know, there's some things we're still figuring out. I don't know how far they're pursuing the Austin and Dr. Okafor relationship.
Really?
Yeah, they haven't given me all of that yet. But there are going to be some really nice things, really nice layers that unravel with Austin, where we kind of find out, really what makes him tick. So it's going to be some fun stuff coming up.
Malcolm-Jamal Warner, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You were fantastic.
Hey, this was fun. This was painless.
This was a blast, right? Yeah, come again anytime. The Resident airs Mondays at 8 on Fox. See you next week on Couchsurfing.